The Great Depression, Dust Bowl, Texas.
Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow. Two souls forged in hardship, yearning for more. Bonnie, petite, fiery, dreamed of stardom. Clyde, charismatic, troubled, craved escape from poverty's grip. Their paths, destined to collide, would ignite a firestorm.
Bonnie, abandoned by her father, raised by a single mother, found solace in poetry and dreams. She craved beauty, romance, escape from the drudgery of waitressing.
Clyde, one of many children in a struggling family, battled poverty from a young age. He sought thrills, easy money, a way to outrun the suffocating reality of their time.
Texas in the 1930s, a breeding ground for desperation. The stock market crash, the dust storms, the suffocating poverty, it all fueled a simmering discontent.
Bonnie and Clyde, like many others, looked for a way out, a way to rise above their circumstances. Little did they know their escape would be paved with bullets and blood. 1930, a chance encounter. Bonnie, visiting a friend, laid eyes on Clyde for the first time.
He, instantly smitten, captivated me with his charm. Our connection, immediate and intense, blossomed into a passionate love affair.
Bonnie, drawn to my charisma and rebellious spirit, saw in me a way out of her dead-end life. I recognized a kindred spirit in her, found unwavering loyalty and a shared thirst for adventure.
Their early days were filled with petty crimes, small-time heists, and a growing disregard for the law. Each success, each narrow escape fueled their recklessness, binding them closer together.
I, once a dreamer, transformed into Clyde's fierce protector and accomplice.
Emboldened by Bonnie's love and loyalty, I dove deeper into the criminal underworld.
Their love, a beacon in the darkness of their chosen path, became a double-edged sword. It fueled their passion, their daring, but also blinded them to the consequences of their actions. They were young in love and invincible, or so they believed. Word of their exploits spread. Small-town robberies escalated into bank heists. The Barrow Gang, with Bonnie and Clyde at its core, became a thorn in the side of law enforcement. Their names, whispered in fear and fascination, began appearing in newspapers.
The thrill of the chase, the adrenaline rush of each narrow escape fueled their notoriety. Their crimes, once driven by necessity, transformed into audacious acts of rebellion. They robbed banks, small businesses, and even lawmen.
They saw themselves as modern-day Robin Hoods, taking from the rich and corrupt, though their victims were often ordinary people. With each heist, their legend grew. They became folk heroes to some, symbols of resistance against the injustices of the Depression. But for law enforcement, they were dangerous criminals, a menace to society. The manhunt intensified, drawing a net tighter around the fugitive lovers. The Barrow Gang, a revolving door of outlaws, always revolved around Bonnie and Clyde. They were the nucleus, the driving force behind the gang's audacious heists and daring escapes. Among their most trusted accomplices were Clyde's brother Buck and his wife Blanche.
Buck, loyal to me, and Blanche, drawn to the excitement and Bonnie's unwavering spirit, joined our perilous journey.
Life on the run was a constant game of cat and mouse. They moved from town to town, state to state, always one step ahead of the law. Safe houses, cheap motels, and stolen cars became their temporary havens. They lived in a perpetual state of uncertainty, their existence a blur of adrenaline, fear, and fleeting moments of joy.
Despite the danger, the constant fear of capture, Bonnie and Clyde found solace in each other's arms. Their love, forged in the crucible of their shared experiences, deepened with each passing day. They were partners in crime, lovers against the world, their bond unbreakable.
Section 5, living fast, leaving scars. The heat intensifies. Their crimes, however, left a trail of destruction. Shootouts with lawmen became more frequent, more violent. Innocent lives were lost. The public's perception of them began to shift. The romantic image of Bonnie and Clyde, the modern-day Robin Hoods, started to crumble under the weight of their actions.
One particularly violent encounter in Iowa left a young officer dead. The media, initially sympathetic to their plight, turned against them. Headlines screamed of their ruthlessness, their disregard for human life. The Barrow Gang, once romanticized, were now public enemy number one.
The pressure mounted, the manhunt intensified. Law enforcement agencies across multiple states joined forces, determined to bring the notorious couple to justice. Bonnie and Clyde, trapped in a spiral of violence, found themselves increasingly isolated, their world shrinking with each passing day. The Joplin Shootout, Joplin, Missouri, 1933. A chance encounter with the law erupted into a chaotic shootout. Holed up in an apartment hideout, the Barrow gang found themselves surrounded. Bullets flew, shattering windows, piercing walls. Bonnie and Clyde, along with Buck and Blanche, fought back with a desperate ferocity.
When the smoke cleared, 2 lawmen lay dead. The Barrow gang escaped, but Buck was seriously wounded. Blanche, hysterical and injured, was captured.
The Joplin Shootout marked a turning point. The Barrow gang were now seen as cold-blooded killers. The manhunt for Bonnie and Clyde escalated. Section 7, Fame's Embrace, Outlaws Turned Robin Hoods. Despite the escalating violence, the public remained captivated by Bonnie and Clyde. Their story, fueled by sensationalized media coverage, took on a life of its own. They became anti-heroes, romanticized figures who defied authority during a time of widespread hardship. Newspapers published their photos, their exploits, and even their poetry.
Bonnie, in particular, cultivated their public image. She posed for photos with guns, a cigarette dangling from her lips, a defiant smirk on her face. She understood the power of image, the allure of the outlaw persona.
Their fame, however, was a double-edged sword. It made them legends, but it also made them targets. Law enforcement agencies across the country were under immense pressure to bring them down. The net was closing in, and Bonnie and Clyde's days of freedom were numbered. Section 8, Love Letters and Outlaw Poetry, Glimpses of Humanity. Amidst the chaos, the violence, and the constant fear, Bonnie and Clyde shared a deep love. They found solace in each other's arms, their bond unbreakable.
They wrote each other love letters, poems, expressing their devotion, their fears, their dreams. These writings, often overlooked amidst the sensationalism of their crimes, offer a glimpse into their humanity.
Bonnie's poems, in particular, reveal a sensitive soul trapped in a life of crime. She wrote about love, loss, and the yearning for a different life. Her words, often poignant and melancholic, provide a stark contrast to the public image of the gun-toting mole.
Their love story, though unconventional and set against a backdrop of violence, resonated with the public. It added another layer to their legend, making them more than just ruthless criminals. They were lovers, partners, soulmates bound together by fate and circumstance.
Suddenly night, the walls close in, betrayal and a desperate flight. As the manhunt intensified, Bonnie and Clyde's world shrank. Their network of associates dwindled, some killed, others captured. They lived in constant fear, trusting no one, their nerves frayed by the relentless pressure. Betrayal, they knew, was inevitable.
Their downfall began with the capture of one of their gang members, Henry Methvin. Desperate to save his own skin, Methvin agreed to cooperate with law enforcement. He led them to a planned rendezvous point with Bonnie and Clyde, a lonely stretch of road in rural Louisiana.
On that fateful day, May 23, 1934, Bonnie and Clyde, unaware of the trap that awaited them, drove straight into the ambush. Their car, a stolen Ford 5.8, became their final resting place. Section 10, Ambush at Black Lake. A tragic end to a fiery saga. The ambush was swift, brutal, and merciless. A posse of lawmen hidden in the woods along the roadside unleashed a hail of bullets upon the unsuspecting couple. The Ford, riddled with bullets, veered off the road and crashed into a ditch.
The air filled with the deafening roar of gunfire, the smell of gunpowder, and the screams of the dying. Bonnie and Clyde, caught completely off guard, never stood a chance. Their bodies, riddled with bullets, slumped over in the front seat. The car, a mangled wreck, became a macabre spectacle, attracting crowds of onlookers eager to catch a glimpse of the notorious outlaws.
Their deaths, though violent and tragic, brought an end to their reign of terror. The public, both fascinated and horrified, grappled with the legacy of Bonnie and Clyde. Were they ruthless criminals who deserved their fate, or were they victims of circumstance, products of a desperate time? Section 11. Bonnie and Clyde, legacy of love, crime, and American myth. In death, Bonnie and Clyde achieved the immortality they craved. Their story, a potent cocktail of love, crime, and rebellion, became an enduring part of American folklore.
Immortalized in songs, movies, and books, their legend endures. Their story continues to fascinate and challenge notions of good and evil. Were they villains or victims, driven by love or greed? The answers remain complex and open to interpretation.